Welcome into the Logan Ward Show here on 12 Ounce Sports. Excited to have you all in on Monday. We have a lot to get into today. A ton of stuff that we have got to get into today. We're going to talk about Michael Jordan, Last Dance documentary, episodes 4 and 5 yesterday. 4 and 5? Yeah, 4 and 5. No, not 4 and 5, 5 and 6. Yesterday, and we'll talk about that. We're also going to talk about Andy Dalton to the Cowboys, what that means for the Cowboys, and what's that means for Dak Prescott, really. And that's kind of the end-all, be-all is what happens to Dak Prescott now that Andy Dalton is there. So we got a loaded show for you today, so thanks for joining me here on a Monday. It is May 4th. It is Star Wars Day here on the Logan Ward Show. Man, look, yesterday, watching that documentary, The Last Dance, it's great. You know, I think that the content is great. I wish they would have had a little bit more time. It does feel rushed. It feels like they're bouncing around from timelines, and I know that I'm not the only person who feels that, and I know I'm not the only person that is getting a little. I mean, we went from 1998 to 1993. Back to 1998, but then back to 1993, and there really isn't really much going on. I think that the documentary was rushed a little bit. But last night, I was watching it, and I couldn't help but think, we can't have a documentary about LeBron James like this. We can't have it. It won't happen. Not because LeBron's not great, and I'm not here to debate that. I'm not here to debate the LeBron Jordan stuff here this morning. But we can't have a 10-part documentary series about LeBron James because in reality, he's not as compelling of a figure as Michael Jordan. See, great TV personalities, they're all wildly flawed. They're all wildly flawed, and they have redeeming qualities. But there's some issues. You see it all over television. The greatest characters of all time in television. You got Don Draper, not a great guy. Tony Soprano, Walter White. These are all-time great characters. They're compelling. They're interesting. They have this mystique to them. That's what Michael Jordan had. Michael Jordan had this mystique to him where we don't really understand what's ticking. He talked to the media, but he didn't really talk to the media that much. Yesterday's episodes kind of gave us his flaws. He was addicted to gambling. He said he's addicted to competition, but he's addicted to gambling. And I think that we can understand that. I know that $57,000 isn't a lot for Michael Jordan, but when you're risking that much money, you probably have a gambling issue. When you're willing to put money on anything, you probably have a gambling issue. But Jordan's mystique, he was all good, right? He was on McDonald's commercials. Yesterday, that was the big part in the first episode. His marketability. He was on every commercial that there was. He was with McDonald's and Hanes and Nike. He was everywhere. And this mystique, this godlike figure of Michael Jordan had some flaws that we didn't really know about. We've heard stories, right? We've heard stories of him punching a teammate. We've heard stories of him being addicted to gambling. We've heard stories, but we haven't heard it from the source. We haven't heard the thoughts from the... See, Michael Jordan just kind of let it be. Let it be. Jordan's a more compelling character than LeBron James. We know LeBron's story. We know what it is. We know where his political leanings are. We know he'll come out and support a candidate. We know that he'll do that. Michael Jordan wouldn't. Michael Jordan didn't want to affect his money. And I'm not saying LeBron hasn't done that. He did that with the China situation. But Jordan is more compelling. There's more mystery to Michael Jordan. If you were to do a documentary about LeBron James, we know about it. We know his political leanings. We know which way he bounced. We know that he built a school. We know all this. Jordan's just a more compelling character. Jordan's game was like nothing we had ever seen before. It was artistic. The way he moved to the basket, the way he flowed, artistic. LeBron's more power. He's more just strength and power. Michael, more of an artist. Around the rim, high flying. Moving the ball around. Midair. I mean, his game is prettier to watch than LeBron James. I don't deny that. I'm a LeBron James guy. His game is a lot prettier than Michael Jordan's game is a lot prettier than LeBron James. The artist that he was. If you have LeBron James highlights, it's just going to be him running over dudes and dunking on them. It's not the crazy acrobatic layups around the rim. That's not him. It's not the step back jumpers. That's not him. He'll stand there and he'll hit a jumper and he'll go with it. But Michael Jordan had this mythology around him. He talked to the media, but he iced him out as well. Didn't really know. A lot of people were waiting last night because we wanted to get information about the 92 Dream Team. Did he keep off Isaiah Thomas? You don't think that this stuff would have already come out for LeBron? If LeBron was icing out a teammate, if LeBron was icing out somebody in the league, you don't think we'd have already known by now? Absolutely. There's this mystique around Michael Jordan, whether it's the marketing that he did, where he was this godlike figure in sports. We've had to wait 2 decades for some of this stuff because he wasn't going to talk. There's mystery around him. He's wildly more compelling than LeBron James. Wildly more compelling. It's the gambling. He had his flaws. LeBron has his flaws too, but most of it's on the basketball court. Not a lot of stuff off the court that you can kind of be like, oh, come on, man. He built a school for underachieving kids and underpaid kids. Impoverished kids. He built a school for them. Not necessarily the gambling problem, right? Michael Jordan is a much more compelling character, a compelling TV character than LeBron James. That's why we'll never have something like this with LeBron. We might have a documentary where we show his highlights and we kind of talk about his career, kind of like what they do with the NFL and a football life. We might have that with LeBron James. We won't have this. This is just a different time. Michael Jordan hit when the internet started getting big. Marketing became at an all-time high in the 90s. And a lot of it is because he was a great player. But Michael created this. LeBron's just been a product of it. So this is why Michael Jordan's a more compelling character than LeBron James. LeBron gets along with his teammates. The amount of stories that Jordan punched his teammates, punched Steve Kerr. Teammates kind of got tired of Michael Jordan. You haven't heard anything like that about LeBron James. You don't think we would have either? Yeah, we would. But this is LeBron's just not as a compelling character as Michael Jordan. That's why we'll never get a documentary like that. That's why we'll never get a Last Dance type documentary for LeBron James. Because he's just not as compelling. He's just not. Let me switch over to this. So Andy Dalton is now a Dallas Cowboy. The former Broncos quarterback, or the Bengals quarterback, excuse me. The former Bengals quarterback is now a Dallas Cowboy. And immediately my thoughts were, okay, well, he's wanting to put pressure on Dak Prescott. Jerry Jones is wanting to put pressure on Dak Prescott. And that's my immediate thought. We got a really good backup, and he's wanting to put a little bit of pressure on Dak Prescott. And then all of Dallas media came out against that and said, that is not what's happening. Dak isn't threatened by Andy Dalton. Dak Prescott, this has nothing to do with his contract negotiations. Nothing. This is just about having a quality backup quarterback. Okay. Dak Prescott hasn't missed a game. I don't see why you would think he would miss games this time unless he holds out. This is about putting pressure on Dak Prescott. This isn't... Andy Dalton's not going to replace Dak. That's not what's going to happen. Not going to happen. But this is about putting pressure on Dak Prescott. Andy Dalton's not a direct threat. Andy Dalton's not a direct threat to Dak Prescott. I think their numbers are comparable, but Andy Dalton's not a direct threat. I mean, this is Dak Prescott's job. However, this is telling Dak Prescott, hey, don't skip OTAs. Don't skip OTAs. Don't miss time. Don't hold out because you want a bigger contract. We got a guy that we believe can do just as good as you. We signed a guy that he could go out there and put up the same numbers as you have. This is putting pressure on Dak. This isn't them trying to get rid of Dak Prescott, but this is them putting pressure on him to say, look, sign the deal, sign the franchise tag, and then we'll figure it out. Don't hold out. And if you do go down, we have somebody here that we think can really play. Andy Dalton's not a bad quarterback. Andy Dalton has had a pretty good career. Every year that he's played a full 16 games, he's had over 3,000 yards passing. His touchdown to interception ratio has been pretty high for most of his career. No, he didn't win any playoff games with the Bengals, but that really wasn't on him. A lot of it wasn't on him. Yeah, he's had some blunders, but they could have won some games. Defensively, they kind of messed up. Pac-Man Jones, Vontaze Burfict, if I can remember right, they had some penalties that cost him late in the playoff game. So Andy Dalton can play. And all these Dallas DFW writers, all these national writers came out and said, this is not to put pressure on Dak Prescott. Then why would you sign him? Just so you could have a backup quarterback? Come on. That doesn't make sense. He's a good backup. He's a great backup. I think Andy Dalton would be one of the best backups in the league. But Dak Prescott hasn't missed a game. Dak Prescott has played all 16 games every season that he's been the starter. Dak Prescott doesn't get hurt. Now, he might not play. He's played injured. He might not play now because, well, I don't have a contract, don't have a long-term deal. This is it. He might try to sit out for a little while. But this is pressure on Dak Prescott. This is putting pressure on Dak Prescott. Sign the tag. Make sure you're there when we can do training camps and OTAs. We got a new head coach, a new system. You got a new star wide receiver that you're going to get to work with. We're going to have a new offensive line with no Travis Frederick. Yeah, so let's get here. That's what they're saying. They're saying, hey, maybe you should be here. Maybe you should. But that's the interesting thing. Well, this is just an insurance policy if Dak Prescott goes down. Dak Prescott hasn't missed a single game. He hasn't missed a single game. I think that Jerry is worried about paying Dak Prescott a ton of money. I think he is. I think he understands that he doesn't have a lot of time to win a Super Bowl. He's 77 years old. He doesn't have a lot of time. But to tell me that Andy Dalton signing a one-year deal with the Cowboys isn't putting pressure on Dak Prescott, I think you're lying to yourself. This is putting pressure on Dak Prescott to sign the tag. Make sure you're there at OTAs or training camp, whatever we get. Make sure you're there. We're already going to have a shortened offseason. Make sure you're there. We have a new head coach. If you want the money, let's do this. Coming up next, we'll get into some of the news and highlights around the sports world. Still plenty of news and going around. We still have the last dance documentary that's been going on. Still a ton of different news going on around the sports world, so we'll get to that coming up next here on The Logan Ward Show. It's 15 after the hour. This is The Logan Ward Show on 12 Ounce Sports. Are you looking for a new sports book that provides the easiest deposits, the fastest payouts, and the best customer service? Well, then look no further than MyBookie. MyBookie strives to deliver on providing a creative, always expanding selection of sports odds for players at all levels. As a MyBookie player, you'll get the industry's most rewarding loyalty program with payout requests processed in just 48 hours. There's hundreds of casino games and great bonuses on every deposit. You can join MyBookie today for a 50% sign-up bonus up to $1,000 using the promo code 12 Ounce Sports. Welcome back to the Logan Ward Show here on 12 Ounce Sports. Look, just kind of on Twitter, someone responded to the what I was talking about with what I was talking about today, and I was he said this isn't just a Jordan doc, but it is. This is a Jordan documentary. I mean, that's the reason that we're here. Yeah, we want to know about Jerry Krause, and we want to know about Phil Jackson and Rodman, but we're here because this is the first time Michael Jordan has ever spoke to the public about it. That's why we're here. There's a reason that we're here. It's to watch Michael Jordan. There was a reason that people wanted to go to a Bulls game. It was because of Michael Jordan. It wasn't because of Rodman, Pippen, and Phil Jackson. It's Michael Jordan. I mean, that's why we're here. That's why we do this. Jordan had complete control over this. He got control when the footage was released, who was interviewed. He got final approval of what the documentary said. This is a Jordan doc. You know, there's a great piece. There's a great piece about this documentary and how it's from an unreliable narrator because Michael Jordan was able to shape the way that the documentary frames it. So this isn't a pure journalistic documentary. This is Jordan was able to figure this out. Jordan was able to take a look at this and have his say in it. So this isn't just a Jordan doc, or this isn't just a Bulls. This is a Jordan documentary. We're here to watch Jordan. We're not here to watch Scottie Pippen and Phil Jackson. Yeah, those things are interesting because they have to do with Michael Jordan. But if they would have done a documentary just over the seasons that Michael wasn't there, nobody would watch. We're here to watch Michael. We're here to listen to Michael. This is the first time he's ever done something like this. This is a Michael Jordan documentary. I don't care what anybody says. This is a Michael Jordan documentary. He had complete control over when it was released, who was interviewed. He had complete control over what to be asked and what not to be asked. He had complete control. Just like in everything else that he's done. He's had complete control over it. This is no different. So, this is a Michael Jordan documentary. Still a lot of news happening around the sports world. So let's get into what happened here in the last, I guess, over the weekend and the last couple days.
Let's start right out. Hey, what happened?
Missed last night's action? Don't worry. We got you covered.
He throws it across the field to Dyson.
He's got something.
30,
He's got
40,
something.
50,
He's got it.
40,
He's got it.
20, 10.
He's got it.
End zone. Touchdown, Titans.
What happened?
What happened here on the Logan Ward Show? Brought to you by Jazz Sportsbook. A lot still going on in the sports world. There's still a lot of things going on. Each league's trying to figure out what to do and how to navigate these waters of, we don't have any live sports going on. They're trying to figure out how to do it. And I think the MLB has done pretty well with it, with the Players League that they've been doing. And that has finally come to an end. The Rays pitcher, Blake Snell, wins the MLB The Show Players League Championship. He won it yesterday. He had a 3-game sweep against the Chicago White Sox. Couldn't get that out. Chicago White Sox, Lucas Giolito. They beat them 5-1, 3-2, and 6-0 in a best-of-5 championship series. Those were televised on ESPN. Look, we're trying to do anything. I mean, networks are trying to do anything that they can right now to get viewers. ESPN, I think, has done a great job, and they're the ones that were able to bear the fruit of this Michael Jordan documentary. But other than that, it's been pretty much just kind of around the sports world. I know ESPN's been airing Monday Night Football games. CBS and NBC have been doing this. But these networks, they're trying to do whatever they can. TNT is going to do the golf tournament with Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, Brady, and Manning. They're going to do that, and I'll be watching that for sure. But they're just trying to come up with stuff. And I think that these networks, it's interesting because they're working super hard to try to figure this out. They're working extremely hard to see if they can get this to work and what will work and how to get these things that do work. How do we keep this going? ESPN's golden because they have this last Dance documentary, and for 5 weekends we're going to be sitting there watching this documentary. I mean, they hit the mother load that this was coming out already. I mean, this is... I know that they don't have live sports, and I know that they would have loved to have the NBA Finals. But for any time for this to happen to ESPN, I know they had to lay some people off. This is the time, because over 6 million people have been watching this documentary. And if you get those numbers for 5 weeks in a row during a pandemic where no TV network besides Fox News and ABC News and MSNBC, CNN, those are the numbers. If you're getting 6 million sports fans to watch a documentary during this pandemic, that's incredible. And that's what ESPN's been able to fall on. They've been able to fall on this. Plus, they've been able to do they got the Players' Championship in the MLB, and I think that did better than what the Madden tournaments did. And they had the ESPN, the NBA tournament, 2K tournament on. So they're trying to find innovative ways for gaming to be a part of it. I know that NASCAR has done the iRacing. They've done some of those things. So it's an interesting dynamic, and we'll see what happens with it. But ESPN was able to host this inaugural MLB The Show Players League, and the Tampa Bay Rays, Blake Snell, won that championship. The Kansas City Chiefs, they reached a deal with quarterback Shea Patterson, the ex-Michigan quarterback. They reached a deal with him, and I think Shea Patterson is probably a good fit there. Of course, he's not going to get any playing time unless, barring some crazy thing happens with Mahomes and there's not backup quarterbacks available. I don't think he'll get much playing time. He might not make the roster. But I think that Shea Patterson's a good fit for them. He's a mobile quarterback that can move around. It wasn't great at Michigan. I was hoping he would be better at Michigan. But, I think that he's a good fit there in Kansas City. Michigan needs a quarterback. They have been missing out on a quarterback. All over the field, they have good players. Offensive line, they've had multiple players drafted. Defensively, they've had multiple players drafted. It's just the quarterback position, it feels like Michigan hasn't been able to get down. And that's been the problem with Jim Harbaugh's Michigan teams. You just haven't been able to get the quarterback. You've had to bounce around with quarterbacks, and it hasn't worked. So we'll see if Michigan can get a quarterback. But the ex-Michigan quarterback, Shea Patterson, reached a deal with the Kansas City Chiefs. So in some football news, the Arizona Cardinals are declining the fifth-year option of linebacker Hassan Reddick. This is according to ESPN Jeremy Fowler. The Arizona Cardinals are declining his option. There's a lot of players, a lot of teams that are declining fifth-year options. We'll probably talk about Mitch Trubisky and what that means for the Bears next year. We'll talk about that tomorrow coming up on the show. But this is an interesting thing. A lot of players their fifth-year options are not being picked up. And I think that this is, I think Hassan Reddick can play in this league. We'll see what the direction of what the Arizona Cardinals are going with. But I think he can play in this league. But we'll see what happens with that. Hassan Reddick, they are declining his fifth-year option. The Cardinals are for Hassan Reddick. Some of the other sports stories, the interesting pole vault. There was a pole vault event. This is true. Pole vault event that was held in people's backyards. Don't understand the logistics of it. This is I don't know. I think that this is fun for certain people to be able to watch, but this is the hardest thing about this. A lot of people don't want to watch these athletes at their homes. And this is a little different because you're actually doing the pole vaulting, but pole vaulting is one of those things that I don't even know if a lot of people would watch at the Olympics. It's not very dynamic. It's not very fun. I mean, you have bobsledding is a lot more fun. You have the track races that are a lot more fun. Javelin throws, hurdles, all those different track events that you have. I don't know if pole vault's one of those things that you're like, gotta check out. I know that we have, ESPN puts up clips of pole vaulters, and that's really cool, but it's not, is it really moving the needle? I don't know. It's an interesting thing, and people are trying to do whatever they can to navigate these waters of not being able to to go out and compete. And I know the Olympics are supposed to be coming up, and we're not going to be able to have those until next year. Maybe we might just have to cancel the Olympics altogether. So I know that a lot of people are just trying to figure it out and try to do something different, and this is one of those things. I wanted to, so that's going to do it for us with the news, what happened. I wanted to go back and show y'all and replay the Ryan Lavner interview that we had. We had him on about a week ago, a little over a week ago. He's a senior writer for NBC's Golf Channel, and we had a really good conversation about golf. This was obviously before Tiger, Peyton, and Phil Mickelson decided that they were going to be doing an event. And so this was before that, but I thought it's a really good interview. We talked about collegiate sports and collegiate golf and what that means. Talked a little bit to him about what some of his, if he's been able to play some of these golf courses. So I thought this was a good interview to play for you today. So here's me talking with Ryan Lavner. He's a senior writer of NBC's Golf Channel here on the show. Let's bring on Ryan Lavner. He's the senior writer for NBC Golf Channel. Ryan, how are you today?
Doing great, Logan. Thanks for having me on.
I've been asking this of all my guests. What are you doing during this quarantine time? What are you doing right now?
Well, I've got a 16-month at home, 16-month-old at home, so that makes things a little bit more challenging, trying to keep him entertained and occupied throughout the day. That's about the toughest age I can possibly imagine to have someone at home, but we're doing okay, trying to get out as much as possible if it's not too hot here in Orlando, where we're headquartered here, and just trying to make the most of this time. It is nice, I must say. I live most of the year on the road traveling to PGA Tour events, so to be able to spend a little bit more family time during what is normally a very busy spring has been really nice.
Yeah, I think that during this time we all kind of have to find those silver linings, and that's a perfect one. I can't imagine. I'm just home. Me and my wife are just home. She's a teacher, so she's been home for 5 weeks now. I can't imagine doing it with a child.
What does she teach?
She teaches English.
Ah.
Yeah.
Maybe I should take some of her. I should take some of her classes.
Hey, maybe. Yeah. So let's get into it. I wanted to ask, do you get the chance to golf a lot when you're on the road, or are you just kind of working the whole time?
I would say it depends. On a normal PGA Tour event, let's say I was covering this week's tournament, I would not bring my clubs just because it's pretty busy in terms of covering the event for golfchannel.com and then doing whatever TV responsibilities, whether it's our morning show or doing Golf Central at night. So there's just not a lot of built-in time. I know a lot of other writers who don't work for a TV network bring their clubs and they can sneak out for a 9 or 18. The one big trip that we do take every single year is for the Open Championship, the British Open. We always head overseas 4 or 5 days early, and we'll play 90, 108 holes, do 36 whole days on some of the best courses in the world. It's the trip I absolutely love the most and look forward to it every single year because it's just such a treat to play in England, Scotland, Ireland, wherever we happen to be that particular year. It's such a treat to be able to play that style of golf.
Yeah.
But normally, no, I don't bring my clubs, unfortunately.
Where is the what's your favorite course to play, or that you have played?
Oh boy, not to brag, but I played Augusta National in 2012. So when you cover the Masters tournament, they have a media lottery the Monday after the tournament is played, which is really cool. You can only be in it once every 8 years, and so it might be slightly rigged in the sense that those who are covering the Masters for the first time tend to get preferential treatment in that lottery. And so 2012, when Bubba Watson won, was the first time that I played. I got picked that year. I showed up. I think the next day my tee time was somewhere around 10 o'clock. Had a caddy. They let you go in the clubhouse. They let you go in the locker room.
Wow.
They let you take a camera and take pictures. That's a round that I'll never ever forget. Playing the golf course the day after, the same exact hole locations that you saw on Masters Sunday. That was really an incredible experience.
Is there one course that you haven't played that you really want to?
plenty. I mean, there's plenty in the U.S. for sure. I mean, I've never played Pine Valley. I've never played Pebble Beach even. My father-in-law had a trip booked for May, and he was all excited. I was thinking about going out there with him, and instead, like most things, that got canceled.
Right.
So those would be very high on my list. National Golf Links on Long Island is a course that I've covered a tournament at and never played. So, well, there's plenty. If you look at those Golf Digest top 100 lists that I'd love to check off on my list.
He's Ryan Lavner. He's the senior writer for NBC Golf Channel. He has an article up about questions regarding the PGA Tour's restart. So I want to get into that a little bit. So kind of the biggest question is Rory McIlroy came out and said that he thinks he has a better chance of winning now that it's kind of pushed back until November. Are you buying that, or you just think that that's something he's saying?
So I agree with him to an extent. And so the Masters in a typical schedule is the only major in which there's 8 months of build-up, there's 8 months of hype. If he's the number one player in the world, he's the one who's going to be answering those questions, especially when the calendar turns and you get those 3 or 4 months of lead-up time until the Masters, where he's being asked every single time, why is this year going to be different? What are you doing in terms of preparation? He can kind of overthink it. The way the Masters is now positioned, rescheduled for the second week of November, it is going to be such a hectic fall if we can actually get this PGA Tour and major schedule underway, that there just isn't going to be that idle time where he's going to be sitting thinking about what it would mean to slip into the green jacket or what he needs to do differently to prepare. He's just going to kind of go right into it because that's how the tournament schedule is going to fall. So in a sense, yeah, I do think this might actually help him in the sense that he doesn't have that mental weight. And I think the golf course is going to play differently in November as well. That would favor him. It's going to play slower. It's going to play longer, which certainly benefits a long ball, high ball hitter like Rory McIlroy.
What events are you most looking forward to covering now with the PGA schedule that's not a major?
So it's actually very interesting. And so I cover a lot of college golf, the NCAA championships for Golf Channel. And so that occupies a lot of my time in May and even the first week of June. And so tournaments that I have never been able to cover would include Colonial and Memorial, which is at Muirfield Village. I've never been able to cover those two tournaments because it conflicts with the NCAA championships. And so if this PGA Tour schedule can restart like they're hoping the second week of June, I'll be at Colonial, which I've never been. That's the kind of kickoff event for this new revised schedule. I will be at Muirfield Village the third week of July if they can play that golf tournament. And I've never been to the Travelers Championship as well. It always draws a great field. It's supposed to be great to media. It's supposed to be just a lovely part of the country in Connecticut. I'd love to check that one off my list as well. So I've got my eyes on Colonial, Travelers, and the Memorial Tournament. If we can get back started here in mid-June, I'm really looking forward to those three events in particular.
You mentioned you cover a lot of college golf. We've seen Cincinnati canceled their soccer program. We've seen some other teams that are now, or programs that are kind of canceling sports. Are you worried about college golf?
Yeah, I actually really am worried. I think this is only the beginning, and look, I'm not a health expert. I'm not covering the coronavirus pandemic. I'm not all that familiar, but it does seem very unlikely at this juncture that we're talking right now in mid-April, that it seems very unlikely that we're going to have college football in the fall. And if that's the case, the budget hit that's going to cause for these programs, they're going to have to cut costs elsewhere. And so while men's and women's golf might not be a huge moneymaker, if they can trim $1 million off their budget, they're going to look to do that. And so, yeah, I am worried about the short-term future for a lot of these programs. Now, I don't think, I went to the University of Georgia. I don't think Georgia's going to be necessarily affected, but I can see a lot of these lower-level D1, D2, D3 programs just cutting costs and getting rid of golf, unfortunately, if the coronavirus pandemic doesn't improve here with the outlook.
Who's the best college golf program? What's the kind of the Alabama of college golf?
Well, this year it was Pepperdine. It had really strong program. Arizona State was going to be hosting the men's and women's NCAA championship at Grayhawk. We were all looking forward to going there. We were finally not going to have any weather issues. And then, of course, this happens. Texas always seems to have a very strong squad. And so it was kind of those three teams, at least on the men's side, that were certainly peaking and looked like it was going to be a terrific tournament. But I would say Texas annually has one of the best programs. For a while there, it was even teams like Illinois and USC.
Isn't Stanford pretty good?
Used to be really strong. Stanford won last year's NCAA championship. They were down a little bit. They lost a couple of their good players. But yeah, I would say Pac-12 predominantly, especially on the women's side, always seems to have the best programs.
Who's the best college golfer you've ever seen?
I've ever seen?
Yeah.
Let's see. So I started covering. So I graduated in 2009. So I missed a lot of players coming through there. I would say Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas, when they first hit the college golf circuit, that would have been fall 2011, and they each won 3 times in their freshman season. You could just tell, like then and there, these guys were going to make it. And Jordan Spieth turned pro a year and a half later, and was rookie of the year on the PGA Tour in 2013. Justin Thomas's route took him a little bit longer, but obviously you've seen what he's been able to do on the PGA Tour. And so that fall of 2011, them going head-to-head at the NCAA championship in 2012, it was Texas with Jordan Spieth versus Alabama with Justin Thomas. That was kind of the golden era for me of college golf, seeing those two future superstars battling out. You could tell that they were going to be special.
And you can't get much better than those brands either, Texas and Alabama.
No, exactly. I mean, and unfortunately, that was like before it was on TV too. We've been televising it since 2014. That would have been just an incredible show. Because if you look at those 10 players, 5 on 5, I think 8 now have made it all the way to the PGA Tour. I mean, that's as good as it's ever going to get. Yeah, I watched last year's championship, and it's fun to watch. Those college championships, they're really fun to watch. It's kind of a different style, but it's fun. And a lot of people are still upset that they play stroke play basically the entire season. They do a stroke play qualifier at the NCAA championship, and then it just turns into this 8-team match play, free-for-all bracket-style single elimination knockout. And so a lot of people get miffed by that and say that the best team isn't necessarily winning every year, but it is undoubtedly exciting. You have tons of drama. Match play is just fun to watch anyway, and there's just so much more emotion when it comes to team match play as opposed to just, a team shoots 20 under par and wins by 3. There's just so much more drama and so much more excitement. We look forward to it every year. He's Ryan Lavner, senior writer for NBC Golf Channel. You can go check out his latest article on golfchannel.com. Ryan, thanks for stopping by. Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me. Coming up next, we're going to talk about Bill Belichick. He's made his decision. He's all in on Jarrett Stidham. That's coming up next here on the Logan Ward Show on 12 Ounce Sports.
For the marching exercise, you want to sit down in the center front of your chair, bring your feet shoulder width apart, and form a 90-degree angle with your knees. From here, you're going to lift one foot and raise the opposite arm, just as you march in place in your chair. Make sure you keep that core nice and tight and you breathe into it, and also maintain good posture with a straight back.
DrinkAid, ready for distribution worldwide.
That's what's needed to get to that next level. I'm Rob Pennell, and I'm going to teach you how to be an offensive machine.
Nothing makes us happier at Lexington Law than when our clients cancel our services. Listen to this client call and see what we mean.
Lexington Law Firm, this is Erin.
I would like to cancel my account.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, don't be. Actually, you guys have done tremendous work for me, and I was working with you for several years now. And my goal was to get a mortgage written by the end of this year, and I just got that mortgage commitment.
That is wonderful.
My credit went from like 440 working with you guys to 700.
Nice.
And I got a very good 4.25% 30-year fixed rate mortgage. I have nothing at all bad to say. If you ever want me to write a testimonial, well, I will. As a matter of fact, I've recommended you to a lot of friends.
Lexington Law has served over 500,000 clients, taking expert action on their credit that has led to the removal of millions of questionable negative items from their credit reports. Call now and learn more about how Lexington Law may be able to help you in the removal of negative items from your credit report, such as collections, late payments, charge-offs, and many others. Call Lexington Law today.
So Andy Dalton signed with the Dallas Cowboys. Look, this is what it is. Bill Belichick is going all in on Jarrett Stidham this year. I mean, he's going all in on Jarrett Stidham. They've had multiple opportunities. They could have drafted a quarterback. They could have drafted a quarterback in this situation. They could have taken Cam Newton. They could have taken Andy Dalton. They could take Jameis Winston. They could have had their pick at who they wanted. And they stuck with Jarrett Stidham. Bill Belichick has a plan. Either there's something that we haven't seen with Jarrett Stidham that Bill Belichick really likes and that he thinks that can actually lead this franchise and that can actually win some games for this franchise and they can compete. That's either the case. Or he knows, we're probably not going to be able to compete this year. We're going to be bad. We'll stick with Jared. We're not going to get a contract that we don't want. And then we're going to stick with Jarrett Stidham, and if we're really bad, we'll be able to draft a quarterback next year. I feel like that's his game plan. He has a plan. Bill Belichick has a plan. He's always had a plan, and he always will have a plan. Bill Belichick is going all in on Jarrett Stidham in 2020. Either he knows something that we don't know, and Jarrett Stidham's going to be really good. By the way, the people that I know that watch film for the Patriots, the people that I follow that just go all in on Patriots film, they like Jarrett Stidham. So, and maybe that's something that they're blinded by a little bit, but they're all in on Jarrett Stidham. And so this is going to be interesting to see. Bill Belichick has a plan. Like I said, either they're not very good, Jarrett Stidham's not very good, and he's going to be just mediocre, and they're not going to be very good, and they'll be able to have a top pick next year, or Jarrett Stidham's better than what we all think, and he's going to be able to compete next year. Those are the two options. Those are the two ways that Bill Belichick is looking at this. But I guarantee you that Bill Belichick understands what's going on. I guarantee you that he has a plan. They're not a team that doesn't go in without a plan. And they're a team that probably will execute on that plan. See, there's teams like the Jags, there's teams like the Browns that feel like they have a plan. The 76ers forever have been trust the process, trust the process. We have a plan, we have a process. Hasn't worked out yet. Now your point guard and your power forward, your two staple pieces, apparently aren't getting along. Some people have a plan and it doesn't work out. Bill Belichick typically has a plan and typically it works out. He's a smart guy. He's been in this league for a very long time. They're going all in on Jarrett Stidham. It's either because he's really good or he's not very good and they're going to just roll with him and not have a bad quarterback contract on the books. Those are the two things. Whew. That's going to do it for us today. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll talk about Mitch Trubisky. What the Bears declining his fifth-year option. What does that mean for him and the Bears? We'll talk about that tomorrow here on the show. Be sure to follow us on Twitter handle @Logan Ward Show. You can also follow me personally on Twitter @Logan B. Ward. And be sure to follow 12 Ounce Sports on all social medias as well. We'll be back tomorrow. This has been the Logan Ward Show on 12 Ounce Sports.